A conversation with two English teachers.
Hello and welcome to our podcast, English Audio Lounge, where we dive deep into the world of education, language, and learning. Today, we have two remarkable guests. They are English teachers who have dedicated their careers to helping students master the language. Please welcome Pamela and Andrew. It's a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you, Gerard. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. Let's start with the basics. You both work with students of various backgrounds and proficiency levels. What are some of the biggest challenges they face when learning English?
That's a great question. One of the most common struggles is maintaining motivation. Many students start off excited, but when they hit a plateau, they feel discouraged. That's when I encourage them to set small, achievable goals and celebrate their progress. It's all about creating a habit of learning rather than seeing it as a chore.
I completely agree with Pamela. In addition, another challenge is overcoming the fear of making mistakes. Many students hesitate to speak because they don't want to sound foolish. I always remind them that mistakes are an essential part of the process. The more they put themselves out there, the faster they improve. That's a fantastic point. Speaking of improvement, how do you structure your lessons to help students learn efficiently?
I try to make my lessons as interactive as possible. Instead of relying solely on textbooks, I incorporate real-world materials such as podcasts, articles, TED Talks. I also encourage students to use the language outside the classroom, whether by watching movies in English, keeping a journal, or even changing the language settings on their phones.
Yes, exposure is key. I also focus on teaching in context rather than in isolation. Instead of memorizing lists of vocabulary, students learn words within sentences or through storytelling. This way, they absorb language naturally and remember it better. That makes so much sense. Now, many of our listeners are looking for ways to speed up their learning. Do you have any golden tips for them?
One tip I always give is to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. If you can't travel to an English-speaking country, bring the language into your daily life. Listen to English music. Follow English-speaking influencers, and most importantly, speak as much as possible.
And I'd add that consistency beats intensity. It's better to study for 20 minutes every day than for 3 hours once a week. The brain retains information better when it's exposed to it frequently. Those are great insights. Before we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you'd give to anyone struggling with English?
Be patient with yourself. Learning a language is a journey, and progress is not always linear. Keep going, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
And have fun with it. If you enjoy the process, you'll learn much faster. Treat English as a tool for connecting with the world, not just as an academic subject. Wise words. Pamela, Andrew, thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm sure our listeners will find your advice incredibly useful.
Thank you, Gerard.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. And to our listeners, if you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.